This is not the court of law. This is not a civil. I'm talking about as it pertains to the NFL. It's not civil when it comes to you, the NFL. You investigate the matter to find out what level of justification warrants you either putting somebody on the commissioner's exempt list or not. That's all the information we need to know. Whether it's Ezekiel Elliott, who was suspended for 6 games. Whether it's Kareem Hunt, who's suspended for the first 8 games of the season. Whether it's Reuben Foster, who's been on the commissioner's exempt list. Greg Hardy, who was, by the way, convicted in a North Carolina court of law, but it was a non-jury trial, and the judge convicted him before he appealed it, and the case ultimately was dropped. But no matter who it is, the NFL has no business telling us who they believe is guilty or not. You are not the court of law. Stop. All that we need from the NFL is whether or not you believe a situation or incident warrants somebody being placed on the commissioner's exempt list to protect the league, the shield. And why does it need protection? Because anything that sullies the shield, that compromises the brand that is the NFL in any way, that impugns its integrity as an entity, as a commodity, you have a right to sit up there and say, okay, you can't go on the field wearing a uniform representing us. We ain't going to take away your money, but you can't do that. That's reasonable. That's all we need to know from the NFL. That's all we need to know. Because to tell us more elevates the level of dependency we may have on you to give us more in-depth truths about athletes and others working under your shield in the future, and you don't want that responsibility or culpability on your hands if you're the National Football League. So don't give us all of that. Court of law, they can do that. But not you. If you're the National Football League, all you have to do is tell us whether something warrants somebody's participation or arrival on the commissioner's exempt list or not. And in this case with Antonio Brown, I think it's undoubtedly so.
Be extremely serious.
We've looked into the situation. We're taking it very seriously.
If there was one word that would sum up that news conference with Bill Belichick, it was tension.
We're taking it one day at a time, just like we always do.
I would be shocked if Antonio Brown is yanked from the New England Patriots and placed on the commissioner's exempt list and denied the opportunity to play for the Patriots.
I do think the commissioner exempt list is the most likely outcome, and sooner rather than later.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
If you missed any of my opening segment, go check it out on demand in the Stephen A. Smith Podcast, brought to you by the Capital One Quick Silver Card, earning unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere. Hey, what's in your wallet? By the way, have you ever had to miss a football game because you couldn't watch the game? That never has to happen again with TuneIn, your all-in-one audio app for live sports, news, music, and podcasts. With TuneIn Premium, you can listen to live and on-demand coverage of every single game of the NFL season, including every NFL on ESPN radio matchup. And that's just the beginning. TuneIn also gives you access to every MLB, NBA, and NHL game, not to mention college football, local and national sports radio, and sports podcasts on ESPN radio like The Stephen A. Smith Show. Download the free app and enjoy TuneIn today. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. On the phone with us right now is a 2-time Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots, formerly of the New York Jets as well. The one and only Damien Woody is on the line with us. What's up, big boy? How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Listen, man, I can't laugh about this because to see Sam Darnold go down, I ain't getting into the mono thing or whatever, but that's what he was diagnosed with. We understand that. We get all of that. But my question to you is, where do the Jets go from here? You got New England twice. You got the Cowboys. You got the Eagles. You got the Browns on Monday Night Football. You lost your franchise quarterback, for crying out loud. You ain't even have a number one receiver, as far as I'm concerned, in Crowder or Robbie Anderson. Where the hell do the Jets go from here? Just 1 week into the season, they lose their starting quarterback, at least for the next 4 weeks.
Well, guess what, Stephen A? The game's still going on, and teams don't feel sorry for you. So if you're the Jets, you sit in the building, this can't be a pity party. I can tell you that right now. because the Cleveland Browns are coming in. They're angry. They're pissed off from getting blown up by 30 points at home to the Tennessee Titans. So you better get your mind right now. Because, like you said, Sam Darnold's going to be out a few weeks with mono. So the only thing you can do is just, like in words of Bill Belichick, do your job.
Give them some hope. Give a Jets franchise some hope. In other words, what's out there to peel from? What's the positive that you can peel from Sam Darnold's absence over the next 4 weeks if you're the New York Jets? What could you be looking for? What could you find?
Well, I mean, the only thing to me is who else is going to step up, okay? This is a situation. It is what it is right now. Sam Darnold's going to be out. Who's going to step up? Okay, we got you. You invested in Le'Veon Bell. You know, you gave him that type of money. I thought he had a really impressive debut, considering the fact that he was out, for a whole year last year, missed all of 2018. So Le'Veon Bell and guys on defense. I think that, regardless of the performance they had last week against the Buffalo Bills, where they created 4 turnovers, the Buffalo Bills still came back from 16 points down. So the guys on that side of the ball have to step up. It's got to be a collective effort, man. It's got to be a collective effort, and you got to put it all on the line this week because you fall 0-2, man. Your season is pretty much a wrap.
Damien Woody right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. The Jets lost to the Buffalo Bills in the opening game of the season. Is that a product of the Buffalo Bills being better than we thought they were, or is it the Jets being exactly who we think they are?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both, Stephen A. I mean, because you look at how that game unfolded. The Jets were up by 16 points. If I told you this, okay, you would be up by 16. Your defense created 4 turnovers, 4, and you lose, you would be beside yourself, wouldn't you? You would be absolutely beside yourself. So give credit what credit is due with Buffalo. Their defense played outstanding too, because for all the mistakes that Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills offense made, the game was still close. So if you're the Jets right now, it's a little bit of everything. Your defense gave it up at the end when linebacker Mosley went down, and the offense just couldn't. They were putrid. They couldn't do anything. So for the offense, it's literally okay. It is what it is. But we got a chance to rebound this week.
Damien Woody right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Damien, let's transition to this Antonio Brown situation because Christine Brennan obviously is making news, columnist extraordinaire for USA Today, arguably the matriarch of this industry as far as I'm concerned. She does an outstanding job. She took a position in USA Today, newspaper today, calling for Antonio Brown to be placed on the commissioner's exempt list immediately. For those who don't know, Antonio Brown obviously has been is alleged to have raped a woman, his former trainer, Brittany Taylor. Brittany Taylor has made herself available to the National Football League, who she's scheduled to meet with next week. But nevertheless, it's her word against his because he proclaims vehemently his innocence. Your thoughts about what the NFL should do, what the Patriots should do, your former team, in light of these allegations?
Well, I think from a Patriots standpoint, you sit back and you let the NFL and let the process unfold, okay? Because they don't have all the information. You let the process unfold and you go about the business of preparing for the Miami Dolphins, and I think that's exactly what the Patriots are going to do. Now, in this particular situation, as far as Antonio Brown and what the league should do, I think the league should absolutely hold off on putting Antonio Brown on the exemption list, because here's why: you haven't even interviewed anyone. Okay, and if you throw Antonio Brown on the commissioner's exemption list, my mindset as a player, that's like being suspended with pay. Okay, you are removing me from the field with pay, and the presumption of innocence is out the door. You know, that it's to me, that's what I would do. Okay, in this particular situation. So I think you got to hit the pause button. Let the commissioner or the people in the league office, let them interview Ms. Taylor, which she has said that after her wedding, that she will be more than happy to do an interview and tell her side of things. And I think once the league does that and collects any type of pertinent information as it relates to this case, then you can go about, if you want to go about putting Antonio Brown on the commissioner's exemptions list, by all means. But to do it right now, right out of the box, I think it sets a terrible precedent.
Do you have any issue at all if the National Football League decided to place Antonio Brown on the commissioner's exempt list in the immediate aftermath of talking with Brittany Taylor?
I don't have a problem with that, because I think having an interview with Mrs. Taylor, I think a lot of it is fact-finding and finding out if this is truly credible, okay? And I think once you make that move, make the move to interview her, then I think, for me, I wouldn't have a problem with it saying the league basically saying, you know what, we're going to put you over here. Let's continue to collect the evidence and talk to all parties involved, and then from there, then we'll get further along and decide which way we want to go as far as potential punishment or whatever the case may be. But I just feel like, Stephen A., if you go down the road of putting Antonio Brown on a commissioner's list right off the bat without talking to anyone, I just think that it's a real slippery slope.
I completely agree with you there. As much as I absolutely respect and adore Christine Brennan, I disagree with her with that as well. I believe that if you have to talk to somebody and gather evidence. You can't just put the guy on the commissioner's list because of an allegation. I know it's popular for a lot of people to pounce on him because of his idiocy and buffoonish behavior while he was an Oakland Raider, but that has absolutely positively nothing to do with this accusation of criminal behavior, because if he raped her, obviously that's a highly egregious crime, and his behind should be in jail. He shouldn't be paying some civil fine. He should be in jail if he raped her, okay? But if you're going to make the accusation, if that's all you have to do to get a guy off the football field, then obviously that is a slippery slope, and I don't blame you for feeling that way after all. Last question to you. When you see him, Antonio Brown, in a Patriots uniform this Sunday, A, do you think he will play? And B, what should that say in your mind to folks about your former team, the New England Patriots?
Well, I do think he'll play. And B, I feel like if seeing Antonio Brown out there, the Patriots are about football. Again, they're going to let the process play itself out. They're going to remove themselves from this, let the league office and all parties involved handle their business. The Patriots is all about one thing. They're going to do what they feel like is in the best interest of the organization. Now, if information comes out or if something happens as far as the league office is concerned where they need to move on, then so be it. They will. But as of right now, from the Patriots' perspective, they feel like, you know what? The league is handling us. And Antonio Brown, as far as we're concerned, he's eligible to play, so we're going to let him play.
Damien Woody, appreciate you as always, my man. I'll talk to you soon. Enjoy this weekend's festivities of football. Oh, by the way, real quick, Jameis Winston, Cam Newton tonight. What do you think is going to happen with that?
I got Carolina. I think unless Jameis Winston can find a way to stop throwing into the other team. He had two interceptions returned for touchdowns last week. Mm-hmm. Until he stops doing that, it's going to be more of the same for Jameis Winston. I'm
done with Jameis Winston. I don't think he's going to be a star quarterback in this league. I'm not saying he doesn't belong in this league because he's a decent enough player, but he is no star on the NFL level. He's clearly the worst quarterback in the NFC South. I see it the same way you do. Thanks a lot, my man. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
No problem.
One and only Damien Woody right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Don't mean to sound so harsh. I'm not wishing nothing bad against Jameis Winston, who's had his idiotic moments in the past as well. But the turnover machine that he is, I just can't get over it. He's just not that guy. I think this is his last year in Tampa, personally, or at least as a starting quarterback. Anyway, we'll get back to your calls and more in a minute. By the way, when it comes to hiring, you don't have to waste time, or you don't have time to waste, actually. You need to get to your short list of qualified candidates fast. That's why you need Indeed.com.